Ah, yes, we can't get enough of those superhero movies. The world of cinema today is now being dominated by superhero films, particularly that of ones that are based on Marvel Comics. Sure, we love Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, but there was always something about that one certain superhero that made kids and adults love him to bits. Even Stan Lee himself once said that this superhero was always his favorite. Yes, we're talking about everyone's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Over the course of the past 2 decades, we've seen 3 iterations of Spider-Man in the big screen. While Tom Holland, the most recent actor to play Spider-Man, has been nothing short of awesome, there was always something special about the character that launched the entire superhero movie franchise. Tobey Maguire, the very first actor to play Spider-Man in a motion picture, will always have a special place in the history of superhero movies. Playing the teenager-turned-superhero Peter Parker was Tobey Maguire's signature role, and he's still often remembered for that role nearly 20 years since the first Spider-Man film was released. And because he did start his acting career early while making a lot of money in the process, especially when he portrayed the web-slinging superhero, Tobey Maguire has become quite wealthy. This is in stark contrast to the comic book profile of Peter Parker, who was often described as a broke teenager who needed to work as an underpaid photographer to make ends meet. In fact, Tobey Maguire is so rich that he earned $4 million in the first Spider-Man film, $17.5 million plus 5% of the box office earnings in the first sequel, and then $15 million plus 75% of the box office earnings in the final movie of the trilogy. You can just imagine how much he earned on those 3 movies alone. And when you factor in all of the other great movies such as Seabiscuit, you would understand how rich Tobey Maguire is. Just recently, it was reported that Tobey Maguire will be joining both Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield in the next Spider-Man films. While that shows how filthy rich Marvel is, and how much money they're willing to throw to their actors, it also shows that Tobey Maguire is someone who commands a huge payday. And that is why he has a reported net worth of $75 million. So how would the first ever Spider-Man spend a net worth of $75 million? Well, that's something that we're here to find out as we talk more about how Tobey Maguire spends his millions. Houses. If you're an actor living in Los Angeles, you just have to buy a house in Southern California where it's easier for you to access the different studios you need to go for work. And of course, there really is no better place to live in for a Hollywood actor that has made millions and millions of dollars like Tobey Maguire has, especially when you consider the fact that it is quite easy to sell multi-million-dollar houses in LA, where there are plenty of loaded celebrities and personalities. In Tobey Maguire's case, he didn't have to live like Peter Parker in a cheap apartment building in New York, because he has been living the life in California. Sometime back in 2016, Tobey Maguire was able to acquire a West Hollywood residence for a price of more than $3.5 million. The house isn't exactly what you would call huge, but is still very much expensive considering its location and its overall appeal. It measures at 3,258 square meters and has 3 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. The house was built and designed by an international architect, Clive Wilkinson, as his personal residence. Wilkinson is best known for designing the entire Google headquarters and has made money out of being one of the best architects in all of California. The property was originally acquired for a respectable price of $690,000, but has since been improved to the point that Tobey Maguire purchased it for $3.5 million. Even though that West Hollywood house isn't exactly huge, the intricate design was what allowed it to have an original asking price of about $4 million. One of the best features is a living room that is almost entirely glass-walled, but has a white wall where movies were meant to be projected onto. It also features a swimming pool that is actually 48 feet long. Of course, we love the fact that the master bedroom comes with a huge bathroom with an exhibitionist-style bathtub that can be seen at the very center of the room. Needless to say that Spider-Man can dump that old apartment in New York for his nice place in Hollywood. In 2019, Tobey Maguire decided to go bigger when he purchased a Brentwood house that had an asking price of $6.9 million, which is nearly double the amount he paid for his West Hollywood home. The house was originally owned by Nina Jacobson, who worked as a producer for hit movies such as Crazy Rich Asians and The Hunger Games. She was responsible for working together with a team of architects to transform the Brentwood home into a nice minimalist house from the 1950s-style ranch house it was when she purchased it. Inside the 4-bedroom, 5-bathroom home are plenty of open, light-filled spaces with clean lines, hardwood, and polished concrete floors, and numerous warm walnut built-ins. A fireplace is centered between the 2 sitting areas, each of which has sliding glass doors opening directly to an outdoor patio. The outdoor is protected by towering plants that allow Tobey Maguire to have some sense of privacy in that 3,500 square foot house. Several covered sitting areas can be found throughout the property, including a separate cabana adjacent to the pool and hot tub. That unique nook features a wet bar and sofa, perfect for outdoor entertaining. The place is actually big enough that maybe Tobey Maguire can ask his Aunt May to move in with him. Meanwhile, even though he hasn't built anything on another piece of land in Brentwood, Tobey Maguire bought a 0.91-acre lot in that area for $10 million. The land was left undeveloped, but Tobey Maguire decided to put the property up for sale in 2018 for a not-so-humble price of $14 million. Cars. Tobey Maguire, of course, like most Hollywood stars, is into cars and would like to ride in style wherever he goes. That's why it's quite normal for him to be seen driving expensive wheels that he personally owns. The Spider-Man star reportedly owns an Audi Q5 that is one of the more expensive mid-level sedans you can find on the market, as the expensive prestige variant of this car can cost well over $53 million. He was often seen using his Q5 together with his ex-wife when they were still married prior to their separation in 2016. Of course, a superhero needs to drive something that is good for the environment, or else there'd be no friendly neighborhood for Spider-Man to save. That's why Tobey Maguire drives the Tesla Model S, which is one of the most popular electric vehicles in the entire world. The Model S starts at $79,000, but the more expensive variant can cost nearly $100,000. But hey, it's a price worth paying if it helps save the environment and decreases Peter Parker's carbon footprint. A favorite SUV among celebrities has always been the Cadillac Escalade. Tobey Maguire himself owns an Escalade, which he probably used back when he was still together with his ex-wife as they were driving around town as a family. An Escalade can cost somewhere between $75,000 and $85,000 depending on the model that you choose. One of the more expensive cars that Tobey Maguire owns is his Mercedes-Benz S-Class. This car starts at nearly $100,000, while the more expensive variants of the S-Class can easily go over $100,000. Another family car that Tobey Maguire was seen driving was in his Subaru Outback. The Outback isn't entirely expensive and is reasonably priced at more than $25,000 and can reach $40,000. It's actually a great car to use if you live the family man lifestyle that Tobey Maguire once enjoyed. Tobey Maguire might not own the expensive sports and luxury cars that a lot of millionaires do own, but that's probably because he's smarter with his money. You don't get to $75 million if you always splurge on expensive cars without thinking about the future. Investments. Speaking of the future, one of the reasons why Tobey Maguire has a secured future as a millionaire, even though we no longer see him in movies today, is the fact that he was always smart with his money and investments. The money he earned in all of those hit movies during the 2000s allowed him to live comfortably while investing in many different businesses. One of the first major investments that Tobey Maguire made was in 2011 when he invested $22 million together with other notable celebrities such as his good friend Leonardo DiCaprio, Lance Armstrong, and Serena Williams. In 2015, he and several other celebrities, including Maroon 5's Adam Levine, Leonardo DiCaprio, and other venture groups, invested a total of $55 million on a company called Casper. 2 years later, he was once again one of the major investors for a company called Toot, as he placed about $500,000 on the company. Tobey Maguire's latest recorded investment was on a company called Iris Nova. It was in 2018 when he and other names such as Alex Rodriguez, Chris Bosch, Kate Hudson, and other venture capital groups invested $15 million in the company. With all those investments that Tobey Maguire was making, it's no wonder why he was able to keep his millionaire status even though he has been focusing more on film production than on acting. Well, he has also proven that working smarter has always been better than working harder, as he has a larger net worth than some of the actors that actually work on multiple films in one single year. We all remember Tobey Maguire as the original web-slinging superhero who protected New York during the 2000s, but he has since shed that image and is still making millions and millions while spending millions and millions thanks to his smart business decisions as an investor in the stock market and in the real estate market. So the next time you call Peter Parker broke, you might want to look at Tobey Maguire's net worth first. For those of you who are interested in knowing what the other real-life superheroes are doing with their millions, you might want to subscribe to our page. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you in one of our next videos.